The Galactic Academy was never quiet. Ships came and went from every system of the Union, bringing students from dozens of worlds. The training yards echoed with voices, laughter, and the clash of practice weapons. It was a place built for learning and peace after centuries of war. Among the many alien species walking the metal halls, humans were still new. They had joined the Union only 5 years ago. Most aliens thought humans were small, unpredictable, and too emotional. Yet they were also admired, because every time humans faced a challenge, they never gave up. Marcus Hale was one of them. A second-year engineering cadet, he spent most of his time fixing broken drones and studying power systems. He was quiet, polite, and serious about his work. His friends joked that Marcus treated every loose bolt like a matter of life and death. Across the hall from his workshop studied Rila Thara of the Zalari race. The Zalari were tall, graceful, and expressive. Their skin shimmered faintly like moonlight, and their voices carried music in every word. To them, touch and gesture were part of daily communication. A tap on the arm meant encouragement. A playful shove meant friendship. Sitting close or leaning on someone was a normal sign of comfort. Rila was famous in the academy for her bold personality. She was top of her class in xenobiology, fluent in 6 languages and known for her curiosity about humans. She thought they were fascinating, so small and yet so full of courage. One afternoon, the mixed species cadet team gathered for a simulation exercise. The goal was to build a functioning energy relay using scraps from damaged drones. The challenge was simple: do it fast or lose points for the entire group. Marcus was crouched beside a table connecting wires with a small plasma tool. His brow was furrowed, his concentration perfect. Around him, the others moved quickly, passing parts, reading diagrams, arguing over circuits. Rila walked over, watching him for a moment. The human looked so serious, his eyes fixed, lips pressed tight. To her, he seemed almost adorable in his focus. She smiled, folded her arms, and spoke in her soft musical tone. "You always look like you're fighting a battle with the machines," she said. Marcus looked up, startled. "Huh? Oh, hey, Rila, no, just trying to keep this thing from melting again." Rila laughed lightly. "Maybe it fears you. Humans stare so hard the poor thing obeys out of fear." Marcus smiled awkwardly, unsure how to respond. Sure. Let's go with that." Rila tilted her head, studying him. The movement was a Zalari gesture of affection, but Marcus only thought she was puzzled. Around them, their teammates worked noisily, ignoring the pair. As the exercise went on, Marcus finished his part first. He leaned back, stretching his arms, finally relaxing. Rila watched him with amusement. She had been learning about human gestures for weeks, and she knew that humans didn't like being touched without permission, but part of her curious mind wondered why. For the Zalari, touch was language. Her friend Kane, another Zalari, had told her humans were touch-shy. But Rila, being who she was, decided to test that idea in her own playful way. "Marcus," she said suddenly. He looked up from his datapad. "Yeah? You have worked too hard today. You need a break." Before Marcus could reply, Rila stepped forward and, laughing softly, sat down right on his lap. The room went silent. Marcus froze. His hands shot up like he'd touched live wires. His brain stopped working for a full 3 seconds. Rila grinned, expecting laughter or maybe a playful protest. Among her people, sitting close like that was nothing. It was how friends teased one another. She thought it would be funny. Instead, Marcus's face turned bright red. His teammates gawked. A human cadet in the corner dropped a spanner with a loud clang. "Rila, what are you doing?" Marcus stammered. Rila blinked in surprise. "I am sitting," she said cheerfully. "You look tired. I thought it would cheer you." Marcus nearly choked on his words. "Cheer me? You can't just... People are watching." "Of course they are," Rila said, smiling proudly. "They see how kind I am." Someone coughed. Someone else tried not to laugh. The simulation room was filled with awkward energy. Finally, Marcus gently lifted her by the shoulders, his hands barely touching her sleeves, and guided her to stand up. "Rila, humans don't do that," he said quietly, trying to stay calm. Rila's bright eyes dimmed with confusion. "Do not what? Sit?" "You have laps. They are quite comfortable." "That's not the point," Marcus whispered, flustered. "Among humans, that means something else. It's very personal." Rila's smile faded completely. She straightened, her cheeks glowing faintly silver, the Zalari sign of embarrassment. "Oh," she said softly. "I did not mean disrespect." "I know," Marcus said quickly. "It's okay, just maybe not in front of everyone." But the moment was already recorded by the training drones hovering nearby. By evening, half the cadets in the academy had seen the replay on the network feed titled, "Human Reaction to Zalari Affection." Marcus spent the night reading apology messages from Rila and teasing messages from everyone else. Humans in his dorm laughed but also warned him that the incident might reach the higher instructors. The next morning, the head instructor, a stern Torvian named Krell, called them both into his office. "I have received several messages about a cultural misunderstanding," Krell said, his deep voice echoing. His large yellow eyes moved between them. "Cadet Rila Thara, did you intend harm?" Rila stood tall. "No, instructor. I only meant friendship," Krell nodded slowly. "And you, Cadet Hale? Were you offended?" Marcus rubbed his neck. "Not really offended, sir. Just surprised." The instructor's eyes softened slightly. "Then this is a lesson for both. The Union thrives on understanding. A gesture of comfort to one may be insult to another. You two will write a report comparing your species' customs. That should keep the gossip from growing." Both cadets nodded. When they left the office, Rila turned to Marcus. "I am sorry," she said. "I did not wish to shame you." Marcus sighed but smiled faintly. "It's fine, just next time maybe ask before you do something like that." Rila nodded. "I will, but may I still sit next to you?" He laughed despite himself. "Yes, next to me is fine." From that day, Rila became more cautious around humans, but her curiosity only grew stronger. She began reading human psychology books, watching their movies, and asking endless questions about emotions, friendship, and love. Marcus, meanwhile, found it harder to concentrate in class. Every time Rila entered the room, he remembered that awkward, hilarious moment. But he also remembered her face when she realized her mistake, sincere, open, and embarrassed in a way that was almost human. Weeks passed, and the story spread far beyond their group. What began as a simple joke turned into an official case study in cross-species behavior. The Academy counselors even used it in seminars. Example 24, Physical Gestures Across Cultures. But to Marcus and Rila, it was just an accident they both wanted to forget. Or so they told themselves. One evening, after a long training shift, Marcus sat on the academy balcony watching the stars. Rila approached quietly, holding 2 cups of Keelan tea. "I brought peace offering," she said with a shy smile. Marcus took the cup. "You don't need to keep apologizing." "Maybe I do," she said softly. "Among Zalari, when we make mistake, we share tea until laughter returns." Marcus smiled and sipped. "Then I guess we'll be here a while." They sat in silence for a while, the lights of orbiting ships glimmering above them. Neither spoke about that day again, but something between them had changed. Rila began to understand that humans carried their hearts quietly, behind walls of words and customs. Marcus began to see that sometimes kindness could come in the most unexpected forms. Neither of them knew it yet. But the joke that embarrassed them both would one day become the beginning of something far larger. A story whispered through the stars about how one innocent mistake brought 2 worlds closer together. Marcus Hale thought he had handled the situation well. He had survived the awkward moment, smiled through the whispers, and even managed to keep the instructors off his back. But the academy had a way of turning small things into big lessons. Every cadet seemed to know what had happened. Some teased him outright, some whispered, and a few tried to analyze the psychology of the incident. Rila, for her part, was both embarrassed and fascinated. She had never caused so much reaction before, and she could not stop thinking about it. She walked with a light bounce, her silver skin faintly glowing, but her mind was busy replaying Marcus's startled expression over and over. It was strange. His reaction had been so different from what she expected. The humans were quiet, yes, but their emotions ran deep under the surface. She decided she needed answers. One morning, after the daily physical training, she approached Marcus near the academy workshop. "Cadet Hale," she said, her voice careful and soft. "May I ask you questions?" Marcus looked up from a damaged drone he was repairing. His eyes widened slightly, but he nodded. Sure, Rila, about what?" "About humans," she said. "About gestures. About sitting. About feelings." Marcus blinked. "Sitting?" "Yes," Rila said. I sat on your lap. You reacted in a way I do not fully understand. I want to study it. As research, Marcus's mouth twitched. Right. Research, he paused. Well, humans sometimes treat touch as very personal, especially like that. It can mean trust, affection, or more. It is complicated. Rila tilted her head. More? Marcus coughed nervously. Sometimes it is romantic. Sometimes it isn't. It depends on the person, the place, the timing. Rila's silver cheeks glimmered faintly. Interesting. Very interesting, so I must study more. For the next few days she did. She followed Marcus during breaks, observed his expressions, asked him subtle questions about human behavior. He answered politely but awkwardly, trying not to draw attention. Rila laughed softly when he tripped over words or when he blushed, which was often. Meanwhile, the academy was buzzing with gossip. Cadets from other species whispered about the human and the Zalari girl. Some thought it was funny. Some thought it was scandalous. Marcus's dorm mates teased him endlessly. Did Rila fall on you again? One asked. Marcus groaned and turned red. But Marcus noticed something strange. The more time he spent around Rila, the less he minded. He started to look forward to her questions, her strange observations about human life, and even her small teasing gestures. She was bold, clever, and curious in ways he had never seen in anyone, human or alien. Rila, however, was growing restless. Studying him was not enough. She wanted to understand the humans more deeply, to feel the emotions that Marcus seemed to guard so carefully. Every smile, every pause, every small movement became a mystery she longed to solve. One evening during a late-night engineering lab session, Rila approached him again. Cadet Hale, she said, holding a datapad. I have a question about human comfort zones. Marcus, tired but patient, nodded. Okay, go ahead. If a human allows close proximity but does not touch, what does that mean? Marcus scratched his head. It means maybe they trust you. Maybe they are cautious, maybe. It depends on the day. Rila frowned. Depends on the day? Yes, he said quietly. Humans are complicated. We don't always follow the same rules. Rila sat down beside him, careful to avoid repeating her earlier mistake. I wish I could understand it better. You seem so calm, but you are also intense. Is that human nature? Marcus chuckled softly. Sometimes. We are layered, not simple. She looked at him in silence, processing. To Rila, layers were something beautiful. They were not walls. They were colors like the shades of a nebula. I will learn, she said finally. I want to understand humans. And you? Marcus blinked at her. Me? You, she said, her voice gentle. You are interesting. For the first time, Marcus felt something stir that had nothing to do with drones or circuits. Something unfamiliar and exciting. Interesting? He repeated, almost laughing at the word. Yes, Rila said firmly. Very interesting. I want to see what you do. How you think, how you feel. He swallowed. Rila, that's, flattering. Good, she said, smiling. Flattery is acceptable in Zalari research. Humans? Sometimes. He laughed nervously. The tension grew between them, unspoken and curious, until it became part of their daily life. Every glance, every shared workspace, every accidental brush of a hand became loaded with new meaning. They were learning from each other, discovering, experimenting, but neither of them wanted to admit it yet. Then came the simulation mission that changed everything. The cadets were sent to repair a damaged orbital relay. It was high above the academy, tethered to the station by thin energy lines. The relay was unstable, and the mission required perfect coordination. Marcus and Rila worked together, repairing circuits and recalibrating energy outputs. They moved like a team, anticipating each other's actions. It was exhilarating. Rila admired his precision, his patience, his quiet brilliance. Marcus was impressed by her confidence, her curiosity, and her daring. But then a sudden alarm blared. A solar flare from a nearby star had interfered with the station's stabilizers. Panels sparked, tethers shook, and the relay rocked dangerously. Marcus, Rila shouted, gripping a support beam. I see it, Marcus yelled, sprinting to stabilize the main panel. Sparks flew and a loose cable whipped past his face. His hands moved fast, precise, but the damage was spreading. Rila tried to help, but a sudden jolt threw her against the railing. Her exosuit alarm screamed, a breach in her oxygen supply. She struggled to keep calm, but the system was failing fast. Marcus's head snapped toward her. He saw the flashing red light, the rising danger, and without thinking, he lunged. His suit thrusters fired, pushing him through the chaotic air, and he reached her in time. "Hold on," he shouted. His hands gripped her suit, adjusting the seals and stopping the leak. She gasped, eyes wide, heart racing. Rila realized in that terrifying moment that Marcus would risk everything to save her. Not because she was Zalari, not because it was protocol, but because he chose to. The flare subsided. The relay stabilized. Both of them were shaken but alive. Rila's cheeks glimmered brighter than ever. "You saved me," she whispered. Marcus, breathing heavily, gave a small, awkward smile. "Yeah. Didn't want to lose you. That would have been bad." For the first time, words failed them. Actions had said everything. Later, in the quiet of the medical bay, Rila stared at her reflection in the visor. Her thoughts were racing. Humans were more layered than she had imagined. Marcus was different. Brave, careful, thoughtful, and yet willing to throw caution aside to protect someone else. Marcus, meanwhile, replayed the scene over and over. The adrenaline, the fear, the closeness, it had stirred feelings he could not name. Something about Rila's fascination, her silver glow, her curiosity. It pulled at him in ways he had never experienced. The lap joke from weeks ago seemed small now, almost innocent. But now the stakes had grown. Their interactions were no longer just about curiosity or embarrassment. They were about trust, respect, connection. Something neither of them fully understood, but both were drawn toward. The Academy counselors filed reports about the mission. They praised both cadets for quick thinking and bravery, but Marcus and Rila knew the truth. It was more than skill. It was choice, and perhaps, just perhaps, it was the start of something that would last far beyond the walls of the station. Rila sat by the observation deck that night, watching Marcus repair a small drone. She smiled to herself. Humans were difficult, yes, complicated, yes, but she could not stop studying them. Not now. Not ever. Marcus caught her looking, and for a moment his heart skipped a beat. He realized that the human problem, the human mystery, was not about survival or training. It was about connection, and somehow, without realizing it, he had already started to care more than he should. The joke had begun as laughter. The accident had become fascination. And now, as the stars stretched endlessly beyond the station windows, both of them felt something new, the spark of understanding, the thrill of closeness, and the first, unspoken beat of something like love. The human problem, Rila thought, was never simple, and Marcus, despite himself, realized that maybe it never needed to be. The orbital relay mission had changed everything. For Marcus and Rila, it was no longer just about curiosity or embarrassment. Something unspoken had grown between them, a tension that neither could ignore. Yet life at the Galactic Academy never slowed down, and the next challenge came faster than either of them expected. A routine systems check turned into chaos when an asteroid field unexpectedly passed near the station. Emergency alarms blared and cadets scrambled to stabilize sections of the outer hull. Marcus and Rila were assigned to secure a damaged communication array. Their task required climbing along narrow maintenance rails suspended hundreds of meters above the planet's surface. A mistake could mean serious injury, or worse. Rila's silver skin shimmered under the artificial lights as she tightened her harness. Marcus checked his tools, his jaw set in determination. "We'll get this done," he said quietly, though neither of them sounded fully confident. "I trust you," Rila replied. Her words were simple, but her tone carried weight. In Zalari culture, trust was sacred, a promise without words. Marcus swallowed hard. Trust. He hadn't realized how much he depended on her until that moment. The rail shook violently as a small asteroid chunk collided with the station's outer hull. Rila lost her footing for a split second, her hands gripping the cold metal. Marcus lunged forward, catching her wrist and steadying her. Their faces were close, and both felt a strange warmth despite the chill of the vacuum suits. "You okay?" Marcus asked, his voice low and steady. Yes, Rila whispered, her silver glow flickering. She realized she could feel her heart racing in a way she hadn't before, not from fear but from the nearness of Marcus. Working together, they began to repair the array. Marcus handed her tools, guided her movements, and adjusted damaged circuits with precise care. Rila's fascination with humans deepened as she observed him, his focus, his bravery. The careful way he watched for danger, and yet how instinctively he protected her. Then came the real danger. A section of the outer panel tore free, swinging like a pendulum in the zero-gravity void. It collided with Rila's stabilizer and a warning light flashed, oxygen levels dropping rapidly. "Marcus!" she shouted, panic rising. Without hesitation, he activated his thrusters and flew to her.
"Hold still!"
he commanded, gripping her suit. Sparks flew as loose wires sparked across the hull. Marcus worked quickly, using both hands to seal the breach while conserving his own air supply. Rila's heart pounded. She realized something profound. Marcus would risk his life to save hers, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Her mind swirled with admiration and something deeper, a feeling she had only begun to understand. With a final click, the breach was sealed. Oxygen levels stabilized. They both hung in the void, panting, gazing at the distant stars and at each other. "You saved me," Rila whispered, voice trembling. Marcus gave a small, exhausted smile. "Yeah, didn't want to lose you." For a moment, neither spoke. Words felt unnecessary. The connection between them had grown beyond curiosity, beyond embarrassment, beyond laughter. It was real. It was urgent. The Academy's emergency alarms faded as the asteroid field passed. Both cadets returned to the station, shaken but unharmed. The instructors praised their bravery, noting their teamwork and calm under pressure. But Marcus and Rila knew the truth. Their survival had been a choice, not just skill. And in that choice, something had changed forever. In the quiet of the observation deck later that night, Rila and Marcus sat side by side, still in their suits, gazing at the glittering stars. The station hummed softly around them, distant lights reflecting off their helmets. "Do you trust me?" Rila asked softly, her voice almost lost in the hum of machinery. Marcus turned to her, eyes serious. "I do, more than I thought I could." Rila smiled faintly. "Good, humans are strange. They hide feelings behind words. But sometimes, actions speak louder." Marcus nodded, realizing the truth of her words. That day, he had acted without hesitation, without considering protocol, without thinking of himself. His instincts had chosen her, and somehow that instinct felt right. Over the following days, the Academy life returned to normal, or as normal as it could be for two cadets caught in the middle of interspecies gossip. But the dynamic between Marcus and Rila had shifted. They worked together seamlessly, laughed more freely, and often found themselves in private corners of the station, sharing small talks and quiet glances. Rila continued to study humans, but now her curiosity was personal. She observed Marcus, learning the small habits that revealed his inner thoughts, how he tapped his fingers when thinking, how his eyes lingered on details, and how he sometimes smiled when he thought no one was watching. Marcus, in turn, began to notice Rila differently. Her boldness no longer intimidated him. It intrigued him. Her curiosity no longer confused him. It challenged him. And the way she moved, the way her skin shimmered softly under the station lights, the way her laughter rang clear across the halls, he realized he was drawn to her, deeply. The climax of their journey came unexpectedly. The Academy announced a joint interspecies training exercise, a simulated rescue mission in a deep space wreck. Cadets would be sent in teams to retrieve vital data while avoiding environmental hazards. Marcus and Rila were assigned to the same team. As they floated toward the wreck in the small maneuvering pods, the silence of space stretched around them. It was peaceful yet tense. Rila glanced at Marcus. "We need to work together." "No mistakes," Marcus nodded. "We won't." The wreck loomed ahead, twisted metal and shattered panels floating like frozen waves. Inside, the mission demanded teamwork, stabilizing systems, avoiding collapsing corridors, and rescuing simulated injured cadets. At one point, Rila triggered a security lock accidentally. A panel began falling toward Marcus. Without thinking, she grabbed a nearby tether and swung to block it. But she was off balance. Marcus reached her just in time, catching her arm. Their bodies collided, and for a heartbeat, the chaos around them vanished. "You okay?" Marcus asked, concern clear in his voice. Yes," Rila whispered, feeling the warmth of his hand against hers. She realized that she did not want to let go, not of the tether, not of him. They continued the mission, moving as one. Marcus handled the technical challenges while Rila navigated the wreck with her agility and courage. The simulation tested them physically and mentally. But it also forced them to trust each other completely. By the end, the mission was a success. Their instructors praised their teamwork as exemplary, but what Marcus and Rila knew deep inside was far more important. They had learned to rely on one another in life and death situations, and that trust had grown into something extraordinary. Back on the station, they finally found a quiet moment together on the observation deck. The stars sparkled like diamonds and the universe stretched infinitely around them. Rila turned to Marcus. "You are extraordinary," Marcus chuckled softly. "I could say the same about you." For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. Then Rila reached out, placing a hand gently on Marcus's. His hand trembled slightly before holding hers firmly. "I like this," she said simply. "Being close, understanding you." Marcus's heart raced. "Me too," he admitted. "I've never felt this way before." It was simple, it was honest, and in the vastness of space, it felt like the most important thing in the universe. From that day forward, Marcus and Rila were inseparable. Their friendship had grown into something stronger, built on trust, respect, and shared experiences. They faced challenges, dangers, and cultural misunderstandings together, but always emerged stronger, smarter, braver. The Academy eventually took notice of their unusual bond. Instructors commented on their teamwork. Fellow cadets whispered about their closeness. But Marcus and Rila did not care. They had discovered something far more valuable than reputation or approval. They had discovered each other. Rila's fascination with humans continued, but it was no longer academic. Marcus had taught her about courage, patience, and the quiet power of trust. Marcus, in turn, had learned from Rila the value of curiosity, boldness, and openness. Together, they became a symbol of interspecies understanding, a living example of how two very different worlds could connect in ways beyond expectation. One evening, as the Academy lights dimmed and the stars shone brightest, Rila leaned against Marcus, her silver glow soft against his uniform. "Do you remember the first time I sat on you?" she asked quietly, a small smile playing on her lips. Marcus laughed softly, shaking his head. "How could I forget? I thought I was going to faint." "I was only joking," Rila said. "I did not know what it would start." Marcus looked at her, eyes warm. "You didn't know, but now, I think it was the best joke ever." Rila smiled. And for the first time, both of them knew that a single, impulsive act had started something far greater than either could have imagined, a bond that would endure across stars, challenges, and even the mysteries of the human heart. In the vastness of the Academy and the endless galaxy beyond, one thing was certain: the joke had sparked a fire, and that fire was theirs to explore together.